Hello, we're going to get started. So, we're here today to share a Duolingo case study for AI in Android development, but we hope there's something to take away for your teams or your personal work. So, I'm Judy. I work on math.
I'm Amy, an Android engineer on the Trust team. So, why should you care about AI and Duolingo? A little background about Duolingo. We are the world's most downloaded education app, and our mission is to develop the best education in the world and make it universally available. So, we use AI in a number of our innovative product features. On the left is a video call with Lily, and Lily is an AI conversation partner. And it enables Lily to respond to you just like you were talking with a friend over the phone, and even remember what you talked about in previous conversations and incorporate it. On the right is Duo Radio. It is a podcast hosted by our world characters, and we use AI to generate thousands of hours of content using vocabulary and grammar that's appropriate for your current level in the language that you're learning. Because Duolingo is embracing AI, we have access to a variety of AI tools in addition to the applications in the product we just talked about. In our talk today, we're going to draw from our own experience in order to give practical, real world examples of how we use AI in many use cases, from Android to product to general.
All right. First, we'll introduce some common tools at Duolingo. So, we use some combination of these and more, starting with Slackbot. It's an early integration of AI for employee productivity that actually predates us. It's at least 2 years old. It's a bot on Slack that is backed by GPT. Here's how an interaction looks with a quick auto reply. And another early tool is the GitHub Copilot plugin for Android Studio. Copilot is a pair programmer. You hit tab to complete on Android Studio as you're coding. It's recommended to Eng as we onboard. We remember installing this in late 2023 when we joined. Is it still blinking? Okay. It's not known to be the most reliable, but tends to do well in unit testing, poorly in logic sites, especially those with a bit more nuance to them. Going into more recent technology with OpenAI Codex. Codex is a cloud-based AI designed to automate various software development tasks, acting as an intelligent teammate for developers. Codex can spin up multiple tasks in parallel, also across different repositories if you don't want to switch contexts all the time, or if you don't want to pull a repo even. And we had a trial period at Duolingo, but have since launched, so Codex is available to all.
Graphe is another AI tool, and its flagship feature is an AI code reviewer called Diamond. It runs on every PR that you publish, and you can run it on draft PRs to give it a first pass. Diamond can catch issues that can be overlooked. For example, this Java Kotlin interop issue in the example. Graphite has also other helpful AI features, such as it can generate the branch name and commit for you, or the PR title and description. It also can summarize why your PR is failing CI and even suggest a fix. A feature that's coming soon is to break up large PRs into smaller stacks of PRs automatically using AI. The last tool we'll cover here is Cursor. You're probably already familiar with it. It is a separate IDE with powerful predictive autocomplete and access to your entire code base as context. You can also provide images, websites, and docs as context too. It has Ask mode and Agent mode, and it integrates with MCP. So now we'll jump into the fun part, a few examples of how we use AI in product development. So the first use case is a common one, porting a feature from iOS to Android. Now we want to use AI with converting from one language to another, Swift to Kotlin. We recently did this for chess because we already had the chessboard logic implemented on iOS, and it's platform agnostic. So we wanted to put it into a Kotlin multi-platform library and share it between both platforms. So my very first foray into this, I just asked Slackbot, hey, have at it. So here's the Swift code, and here's the Kotlin. It did pretty well overall. I was able to take Kotlin-specific features like extension function, nullability, etc., and apply it appropriately. However, this did start to break down. It was only able to transliterate about 100 lines at a time and would truncate output, which was pretty painful. So some lessons I learned from this very first experience was to use the right tool for the job. I ended up using Gemini to finish up because it has a larger context window and more tokens. I found it really helpful to create a running doc of code style rules. Anytime I had to edit anything that the AI outputted, just put an example of that in a doc so that we didn't have to repeat the work. Unit tests were really helpful for making sure that nothing has regressed. And not only did I convert the existing unit tests, but I also asked AI to generate additional ones for areas of the code base that didn't originally have unit test coverage. Okay.
So now another use case, it's common for product engineers to get a backend response to determine what to render. At Duolingo, lessons come from the backend, one field change could mean changing all challenges in a lesson. So that's like 15 challenges. Until the backend work is ready, we could hard code an expected response, but it's often manual, it's error prone. Maybe this has happened to you, but adding like an extra comma is going to make the parsing fail. So it's not the best use of developer time. So in math, one example is we asked AI to edit a JSON for every response for a challenge screen to just include a placeholder for the hint field. Going into rendering now, we're often working off a design, and depending on the stage of the design, there could be undefined behavior to fill, and AI can help. It can also help in learning compose, especially for those who are less familiar. Best used, we think, with prototyping when you're not worried about architecture or reusability, but do consider those when productionizing and guide AI towards it. Now, we'll walk through an example for changing card UI on user tab. Going off a math course Figma on its 7th prototype iteration, 7th and final actually. Here's our prompt and cursor. Specifying content that Amy mentioned could be in the form of images. Also with files for reference. And noting the important and specific behavior that we want, being very clear about it. So before, the button doesn't press down like a button. After, you can see it depresses on tap. Separately, you see animations on expand and collapse, either way, which was also handled in a different cursor session and shown to design for approval before there were specs. So AI, in this case, helped us fill a gap as well. So summarizing some tips, you want to provide a lot of context, be specific. If you realize you missed something, you can always redo the prompt on the missed detail and rerun. the time cost here is pretty low. And on top of showing your output to designers, consider asking them to review your prompt and full behavior so we can potentially share with iOS for parity. Lastly, we didn't do it here in this example, but Figma has an MCP in beta to try. On to some general use cases. Related to our last example on UI, but we might want to migrate to Compose from XML instead of building Greenfield. So here's an example prompt, also with references and Compose rules to guide the migration. We recommend this when rules are established for following how you or your company have been using or adopting Compose. Another common Android task is experiment cleanup. When an A/B test is shut down or launched, we want to simplify the code paths and remove the tech debt. So here's an early example from Bruce, asking to remove this specific experiment with Codex. Now, some teams want to understand user behavior and actions through event logging. At Duolingo, we call this tracking. And in this example, engineers built this table with our product manager. So you could see the event names defined, the property, the descriptions. And through just screenshotting the table, which you could probably also copy paste, we were able to add these events pretty easily and quickly to the code base. So Cursor can totally read tables.
So another use case is finding the cause of release blockers. And here, Hideki was able to use Cursor to help find the blame PR. We basically describe the bug in the prompt, but another way to do this would be to provide the Jira ticket, and Cursor can use MCP to take in the information. And then he asks Cursor to find the relevant files and look through any PRs that touch the files in the last 7 days and isolate the blame PR within those. AI can also help you with team management tasks, such as triaging Jira tickets. So often you have a large volume of tickets from dogfooding or user reports, and triaging them manually would be very time-consuming and menial. So we can use Cursor to speed this up. We will need to provide a list of owners and the scope that they're responsible for. And we'll ask Cursor to triage all the tickets in this Jira filter. I found that providing a filter is a reliable way to make sure Cursor focuses on the tickets that you actually care about. Then we'll just ask Cursor to triage and assign through Atlassian MCP. Once it executes what you want once, you can also copy paste the command back into your prompts so that it's more reliable in the future. And once it's done, we can also ask Cursor to generate a summary, and we can communicate this back to our team easily.
So there's many more use cases we didn't get to go to detail about, but we can summarize it in this way. For anything we are doing, we're thinking about how we can do it with AI. So a lot of examples here and more. Now let's touch on the culture at Duolingo that has encouraged this kind of thinking and how it's evolved the past year. You could either draw parallels between your company or maybe get some ideas. So we have a DevX AI team to build AI-driven tools and support tool training. As of yesterday, we're actually trialing Claude Code. And they partner with engineering to hear our experiences and to inform their work. Every 2 weeks, we have an AI assembly, a place to demo examples and share updates. And we don't have to be online together to share. Outside, we're encouraged to share successes or failures to a dedicated public Slack channel, as you can see with some of our screenshots earlier that we shared with permission. Our company has a currently annual hackathon for AI. It lasts 2 days, and teams do budget time for this in planning so that we get this time to explore. And anything is fair game, from exploration to building production code. From internal docs to feature work, we saw some pretty cool things come out of the AI hackathon. So Fridays are new, extending that exploration and building time outside of hackathon into these regular Friday blocks for 2 hours. There may be formal programming, suggested programming, or just free time to explore, with office hours to consult with the DevX AI team or an AI advisory group if you have questions. Lastly, some orgs really embrace AI. On Fridays, the math team could be showing AI in content generation. As we mentioned earlier, a lot of our content and lessons is backed by AI. Or we could be showing how we're using AI to do our work.
Finally, we'll share some closing thoughts. So AI obviously has a lot of advantages. Prototyping especially is really fast. And it makes it very quick to spin up internal tools, so creating a positive ripple effect on employee productivity. Unit test generation is also quite good. A common theme is that anything that doesn't need to be productionized can be done really fast by AI. You can also parallelize more tasks by having AI work on something in the background while you do something else, particularly using agents like Codex. Of course, there are limitations to AI, and we'll mention a few specific ones. So one is hallucinating API. A workaround is to link to an external documentation webpage so that it can reference it for itself. We can also, AI can introduce irrelevant technologies. For example, Duolingo still has a lot of RX Java in older parts of the code base, but AI tools tend to generate code with coroutines. So workaround here is to feed it your code bases, best practices, and code conventions, such as 3 cursor rules. Speaking of cursors specifically, it being a separate IDE can cause your machine to seize up, especially when run alongside Android Studio, which are also hogging resources. A workaround is to disable plugins that you don't need. For example, we disabled a Kotlin plugin because we can always hop back into Android Studio to make sure that the Kotlin is syntactical and compiling. And when all else fails, restart one or both IDEs. Finally, what we are wishing for, and a lot of these are already coming on the horizon, are already here. One wish is better Android Studio integration, just as I mentioned. So many of us have to go back and forth, hopping between tools in Android Studio. We've heard Firebender could be the answer to this. It hasn't been approved yet for use at Duolingo, but we encourage you in the audience to try it or share your experience if you've already tried it. And finally, there's a lot of information about AI to compile and so many ways of doing things. And so many of us are learning and sharing. Over time, we hope to develop more clear recommendations, more templates for prompts within Duolingo, but also with outside, and it's up to all of us to keep sharing.
Cool. Thank you all so much. We hope you took something away from this. With the pace of AI and what we're all learning from each other, this talk could be so different even in a week. We'd like to thank our coworkers for letting us share their work. We also thank you all for listening end of day. And yeah, thanks so much.